The arrival, the Varith Armada cut through music, the darkness of space. Like a blade through silk, 500 warships moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with the deep purple metal that had become feared across a dozen star systems. At the center of this vast fleet, aboard the command carrier Dominion's Fist, Fleet Commander Zarn stood before the observation window, watching the stars drift past. Zarn was a creature of impressive stature. Even among his own kind, the Varith were a warrior race, tall and powerful, with 4 arms ending in sharp talons. Their skin was covered in armored plates that could deflect most small arms fire. Their civilization had conquered 47 worlds in the past 2 centuries. They had never known defeat, Commander said. His tactical officer, Krello, approaching with a data tablet in one of his lower hands. We have crossed into human territory. All ships report ready for combat operations. Zarn made a gesture of satisfaction with his upper right hand. The humans were a young species, barely 300 years into space travel. The Vark Intelligence Division had studied them carefully. Humans were small, soft-skinned creatures with only 2 arms. They had no natural weapons, no armor, no advantages that evolution had granted to proper warrior species. What do our scouts report about their defensive positions? Zarn asked. Krello hesitated for a moment. That is the unusual thing, Commander. There are no defensive positions. The border is completely open. No patrol ships, no orbital fortresses, no minefields. Nothing. Zarn turned to look at his officer. Nothing at all. Our sensors show emptiness, sir. It is as if they do not care that we have entered their space. A slow smile spread across Zarn's face. His teeth were like daggers, designed to tear through flesh and bone. They are even weaker than we thought. Perhaps they have already fled in terror. The reputation of the Varith Armada travels faster than our ships. The fleet pressed deeper into human space. Hours became days. The stars changed, but the emptiness remained. On the 3rd day, they reached the first human colony world, a planet called Riverside. Long-range scans showed a thriving settlement with a population of 12 million, cities spread across 3 continents. Orbital stations circled the planet like jewels. Prepare invasion forces, Zarn commanded. We will take this world as our first prize. The humans will learn what it means to face the Varith Empire. But as the fleet moved into orbital position, something strange became apparent. The cities below were dark. The orbital stations were silent. Not a single communication signal came from the planet's surface. Sir, Krello said, his voice uncertain. I am detecting no life signs. The planet appears to be abandoned. Impossible. Zarn snapped. Send down reconnaissance teams. Find out what happened. 3 dropships descended through the atmosphere. The warriors aboard wore full combat armor, weapons charged and ready. They landed in the center of the largest city, a place called New Denver. The team spread out through empty streets. What they found was disturbing. The city was intact, but utterly empty. Homes still had furniture inside. Shops had goods on their shelves. Vehicles sat parked along the streets, but there were no people. Not a single human remained. Commander, the team leader reported over the communication link. It looks like they left in a hurry, but they took everyone, every single person. The evacuation must have happened in days, maybe hours. I have never seen anything like this. Zarn stared at the video feed. From the planet's surface, empty streets. Stretched into the distance, the wind blew through abandoned playgrounds. Child's toy lay forgotten on a doorstep. How did they move 12 million people so quickly, he wondered aloud. Perhaps they have better transportation than we believed, Krello suggested. Perhaps, Zarn said, but doubt was creeping into his mind like poison. The fleet found 3 more colony worlds over the next week. Each one was the same, cities. Abandoned, populations vanished, not a single human left behind. 28 million people had disappeared like smoke. They are running from us, Zar declared to his senior officers during a strategy meeting. They know they cannot fight us, so they flee. We will find their core worlds, we will find where they are hiding, and then we will strike. But Captain VL, the oldest officer in the fleet, spoke up. Commander, with respect, I have been studying the pattern of these evacuations. They are too perfect. No one left behind, no chaos, no mistakes. This is not panic. This is planning. What are you suggesting? Zarn asked. I am suggesting that perhaps they are not running from us. Perhaps they are leading us. The other officers laughed at this. The idea that prey could lead predators was ridiculous, but Ver did not laugh. He had fought in many campaigns, seen many enemies. Something about this situation felt wrong. That night, as the fleet moved through a dense asteroid field, the first ship disappeared. The Crimson Talon was a destroyer-class vessel with a crew of 400. It was in the middle of the formation, surrounded by other ships on all sides. At 300 hours ship time, its transponder signal simply stopped. Crimson Talon report status. The communications officer called out. There was no response. Zarn rushed to the command deck. What happened? Unknown. Sir, the ship was there and then it was not. No distress signal, no weapons fire detected, no explosion. It just vanished. Send rescue ships. Find it. 2 scout vessels broke formation and flew to where the Crimson Talon had last been seen. They found nothing. No wreckage, no debris, no bodies. The ship had simply ceased to exist. This is impossible, Zar said, but even as he spoke the words, he knew they were not true. It had happened, somehow. Impossibly, it had happened. Over the next 72 hours, 6 more ships disappeared. Each vanishing was the same. No warning, no attack, just silence and emptiness. The crews of the remaining vessels were becoming frightened. Warriors who had never known fear now jumped at shadows. Officers questioned every order. On the 5th day, a human ship appeared. It was small, perhaps 1/10 the size of a Var destroyer. It emerged from behind a moon and sat there completely visible, making no attempt to hide or flee. Finally, Zarn said, destroy it. Show them what happens to those who challenge us. 20 ships opened fire. Energy weapons capable of melting mountains unleashed their fury. The space around the human vessel turned to brilliant fire. The light was so intense that viewing screens automatically dimmed to protect the observers. When the light faded, the human ship remained. It had not moved. It had not even raised shields, yet somehow, impossibly, every single shot had missed. The human vessel turned slowly and disappeared back behind the moon. On the command deck of Dominion's fist, no one spoke. The silence was heavier than the armor they wore. Zar felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career. You felt fear. They are not running from us. Captain VL said. Quietly, they never were. Tsar knew they. Old Captain was right. The humans had not been fleeing, they had been preparing. Every empty colony, every abandoned city, it had all been designed to draw the Var deeper into their territory, away from supply lines, away from reinforcements, away from any hope of help. The hunters had become they hunted, and somewhere in the darkness of space something was watching, waiting, picking off the Var ships one by one. Fleet Commander Zarn looked out at his armada. 500 ships had entered human space. Now there were 493. And the number kept dropping. The reckoning. The Varith Armada was dying. Not in glorious battle, not in heroic last stands, but in silent horror. Ship after ship vanished into the void, leaving no trace, no answers, only growing terror among the survivors. Fleet Commander Zarn stood in the command center, staring at the tactical display. Red dots marked the positions of his remaining vessels, 347 ships. In 2 weeks, they had lost over 150 vessels. Over 60,000 warriors gone without firing a single meaningful shot. Commander, we must retreat, Captain VL urged. The old warrior's voice was steady, but his eyes showed the strain. Whatever the humans are doing, we cannot fight it. We need to return to Var space and report what we have learned. The Empire does not retreat, Zarn said, but his voice lacked conviction. The words felt hollow, like reciting an old prayer that no longer held meaning. The Empire needs to know what happened here. Ver pressed. If we all die, the warning dies with us. Before Z could respond, the communications officer called out, Commander, we are receiving a transmission. It is from the humans. Put it through, Zarn ordered. The main display flickered to life. A human face appeared, a female with dark skin and gray hair pulled back tightly. Her eyes were calm, almost sad. She wore a simple uniform with no decorations or medals. I am Admiral Chin of the Human Defense Network, she said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried absolute authority. I am speaking to Fleet Commander Zarn of the Var Armada. I know you can hear me. Zarn stepped forward. I hear you, human. If you wish to surrender, we may show mercy. Admiral Chen and LT Unk and GT's expression did not change. Commander Zarn, 2 weeks ago, you entered our space with 500 warships. You came to conquer us, to enslave our people, to take our worlds. We gave you a warning at the border. You ignored it. We gave you empty colonies to consider. You did not understand. Now, I am giving you one final chance. Turn your fleet around. Leave human space. Never return. Do this and you will be allowed to survive. Zarn felt rage building in his chest. You think you can threaten the Var Empire? Your tiny ships hide in shadows. You are cowards who cannot face us in honest battle. We are not hiding, Commander Admiral Chin said. We have been here the whole time. You simply were not looking in the right places. She made a gesture off-screen. The tactical display in Zarn's command center suddenly changed. New contacts appeared around the fleet. Hundreds of them, thousands of them, human ships, emerged from asteroid fields, from behind moons, from sensor-dead zones that the Vark had assumed were empty space. The Varith Armada was surrounded. They had been surrounded for days, perhaps weeks, and had never known it. How? Zarn whispered. Your sensors. Look for heat signatures, energy readings, active systems. Admiral Chin explained. Our ships run cold, we can drift in space for months if needed. Every system powered down except life support. We learned patience from the void itself. While you charged forward, with your engines blazing and your weapons hot, we simply waited. Krello was frantically working his console. Commander, she is right. These contacts have been here all along. Our sensors were calibrated to ignore anything that looked like debris or inactive objects. The humans were hiding in plain sight. Your missing ships were not destroyed. Admiral Chin continued. They were disabled and boarded. Your warriors were taken as prisoners of war. They are alive, but they are no longer yours. We are not monsters, Commander. We do not kill unless we must. Then why this game? Zarn demanded. Why not simply destroy us? When we entered your space, because destruction is easy, Admiral Chin said. Any species can kill. We wanted you to understand. We wanted you to feel what it is like to be hunted, to be helpless, to watch your people disappear one by one. Every species you have conquered felt this way. Now you know how they suffered. She leaned forward slightly. We studied you for years, Commander. We knew you would come eventually. Species like yours always do. You see softness and assume weakness. You see peace and assume cowardice, but peace is not weakness. It is a choice, and we choose when to end it. Zarn looked around his command center. His officers stared at their screens at the impossible number of human ships now visible. They were outnumbered 10-1, maybe more. What happens now? He asked quietly. Now you choose, Admiral Chin said. You can order your fleet to attack. You will die, all of you. We have weapons you have never seen, technologies your empire has not imagined, or you can surrender. Your ships will be escorted to the border. Your warriors will be returned to you, and you will go home with a message. What message? That humanity is not prey. That we have been to the darkness and returned stronger. That we have faced extinction and survived, and that any species who comes to our space with thoughts of conquest will find only their own doom. The command center was silent. Every eye was on Zarn. The weight of 347 ships, thousands of lives, pressed down on him. Captain VL spoke softly. Commander, we have already lost. Let us at least save those who remain. Zarn closed his eyes. His pride, his certainty, his entire understanding of the universe had been shattered. The Var were not the ultimate predators. They had met something that hunted better than they ever could. I surrender, he said. The words tasted like poison. Varkith Armada surrenders. Admiral Chin nodded. A wise choice. Human escort ships will guide you to the border. Do not deviate from their course. Do not attempt to scan our systems or gather intelligence. Simply leave and remember what you learned here. The transmission ended. Within minutes, human ships began moving into formation around the Var fleet. They were sleek and dark, moving with eerie grace. No threats were made, no weapons charged. The humans simply waited. The journey back to the border took 5 days, 5 days of silence and shame. The mighty Varkith Armada reduced to prisoners being escorted home. They passed the empty colonies they had found weeks before. Zar now understood that those evacuations had not been panic. They had been preparation. The humans had cleared their people to safety, then set their trap at the border. The human ships stopped. The Var fleet crossed back into their own space. As they did, Admiral Chen's voice came through one final time. Tell your empire what happened. Here, tell them that humanity does not seek war, but we will not shy from it. Tell them that we protect what is ours. And tell them that if they come again, there will be no warnings, no mercy, no survivors. This is the only time we will let you leave. The communication ended. The human ships turned as one and disappeared back into their territory, vanishing like ghosts. Zarn stood alone in his command center, watching the stars. He had entered human space with 500 ships and dreams of conquest. He was leaving with 347 ships and the knowledge that his people were not the strongest in the universe. The Varith Empire would receive his report. They would read about the disappearing ships, the invisible enemy, the complete and total defeat. Some would call him a coward. Others would demand another invasion, larger fleet, revenge. But Tsar knew the truth. The humans had shown mercy. They could have destroyed the entire armada. Instead, they had taught a lesson. Humanity was not weak. They were not prey. They were something far more dangerous than any warrior race could be. They were patient. They were clever. And they were absolutely merciless when protecting their own. The Varith Armada returned home in disgrace. News of their defeat spread quickly through the empire. For months, the military leadership debated what to do. Some called for immediate retaliation. Others urged caution. In the end, humanity was left alone. The Var never returned to human space. Neither did any other species who heard the story, the tale of the armada that entered human territory and barely escaped, spread across the galaxy. Humanity became known not as weak prey, but as the patient hunter, the species that waited in the dark, the civilization that turned the void itself into a weapon. And in the years that followed, no one dared to test them again. The Var had learned their lesson. In the endless darkness of space, sometimes the smallest creature is the most dangerous. Sometimes peace is not weakness, but the calm before an unstoppable storm. The Varith Armada had entered human space seeking conquest. They left having discovered something far more valuable than victory. They discovered respect, fear, and the understanding that humanity was not a species to be conquered. They were a species to be avoided at all costs.